Welcome to Who Invited Marketing, the podcast that gives marketers the inside scoop on how to level up and stand out. My today's guest is Burrell. Wade is the principal product marketing manager at Intuit Mailchimp. Before that, Wade was a part of Square. In this episode, we dive deeper into the evolution of Mailchimp, how Wade led GTM for Mailchimp SMS, day in the life of a senior PMM at Intuit Mailchimp, and so much more. But before we get into the good stuff, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, drop a rating. It helps more marketers like you find these game-changing insights. Here's presenting Wade Burrell. Hi Wade, welcome to Who Invited Marketing. Thanks so much for being here. You have had an incredible journey in marketing. Before we dive into the specifics, I'd love to take a step back and ask you the one question I want to know. What led you to product marketing?
Well, thank you for having me, Priyanka. It's truly exciting to be here. I'm just excited to have this conversation. I think it's going to be great. My background is pretty varied. I've been in all types of marketing from advertising to sales to PR to social media. I've had a lot of different previous experience with lots of different marketing, but what ultimately led me to product marketing, I think, is that I've always been fascinated by the intersection of technology and kind of human behavior. So earlier on in my career, I noticed that most successful products weren't necessarily the ones with the best features, right? I think it really were the ones that resonated most deeply with users and their needs. So I think what product marketing lets me do is kind of bridge that gap a little bit. So translating technical capabilities and features and functionality into meaningful solutions for real people and in my experience, real businesses. I think I've been heavy on the B2B in my career so far. I mean, at Square, I saw firsthand how powerful it was that product and marketing can work really, really well together. And that kind of cemented my passion for product marketing. And what I think also kind of draws me to it or drew me to it was product marketers in general to come up with creative and exciting solutions to very or incredibly difficult business problems. So it's fun to be in a position where no 2 days are the same. You're working on the same problem, but you're trying to come up with solutions to that problem in a different way. And I love that aspect of using multiple sides of my brain, the business aspect of owning a product, and then also the creative side of trying to figure out how to actually get your product in front of people. So I think I fell hard for that aspect of it, and I've enjoyed it a great deal so far. That's a great question.
So cool. Creativity is why I think most of us stay in product marketing. MailChimp is such an iconic brand. When you first joined MailChimp, what was one of the biggest challenges you faced in shaping its positioning?
That's a great question. I've been at Mailchimp. I'm in my 8th year already. So when I joined Mailchimp, and we were evolving from being, just the email company that provides only email marketing and to becoming kind of a full marketing platform for small businesses and for businesses of all sizes. And that challenge the challenge there wasn't just repositioning our brand, so to speak. It still is a challenge, but it was honestly helping our existing users see us in a new light while staying true to our core values and what we offer and the value that we bring to our customers. So we had to be careful when balancing that kind of trust that we've built so far while also expanding our vision of what we could offer our customers. So, my time at Mailchimp has been focused heavily on new features and functionality as it relates to, new channels. So SMS being one of my latest ones that I've been managing from a product marketing perspective. And, that's not necessarily a new channel, but it could be new, and it is new to a lot of our customers. So how do we balance, they trust us for email, they trust us for reporting and analytics on their performance of their email and their marketing campaigns. So how do we make sure that we can show them value and showcase that value for SMS or for any new channel that we bring to Mailchimp? So it's been a challenge from that perspective to really shift how we go to market in terms of what we offer customers and what we offer businesses. So it's been a fun challenge, and one one that has, it's 8 years plus running, and it's still a challenge to this day. But it's kind of a fun project, or excuse me, a fun problem to work on. So I've enjoyed it a lot. It's been fun.
I have a lot of questions on SMS, so I'll keep that for later. Right now, so I'm glad you mentioned that you have had 7 years of experience at Mailchimp. So over the last 7 years at Mailchimp, how has your role evolved, and how has the company's approach to product marketing changed?
It's been fascinating to see the evolution of product marketing at Mailchimp. I was, if I'm remembering correctly, the fourth or fifth person on the product marketing team when I started at Mailchimp. So very new function at the company specifically. Prior to that, we I would say it was mainly kind of a product led or brand led organization at that point, no real focus on product marketing truly. So at the time when I started, and still to this day, I'd say, but mainly when we first started, is had to really fight for a seat at the table. I think initially our PMM kind of approach was to focus primarily on, feature launches, and then get it out the door and make sure adoption was kind of handled after that. And it was also somewhat reactive, I'd say. So, like I said, it was product led. And so the product would be like, it's kind of an afterthought almost. Product would come to us, say, hey, we launched this product. We need to market it. How can we do that? So, as we've grown, I think we've become much more strategic. So, deeply involved in the product strategy, in market expansion, and the big thing now is kind of ecosystem thinking and how we actually go to market as a full platform, and not necessarily as individual channels. Like email marketing has a product marketer that does this, and SMS does this, without any connectivity across kind of the full experience for customers and for just our marketing and go to market strategies. But so we've evolved a little bit further to thinking about that full integrated customer journey across multiple products, and of course across all of Mailchimp as a platform. So I think the biggest shift has been from moving from, how do we launch this feature, to how do we solve this customer problem across the entire platform. So it's a true focus on the entire customer experience, of every aspect of our platform. And that's coming to light in a lot of the work that we're doing now with regards to, SMS in general. Again, that's top of mind for me. But it's we make decisions based on, not necessarily what is truly and solely good for this product, but what is good for the overarching customer kind of benefit, or what the benefit is for the customer. And that's been a fun, kind of exciting evolution from more reactive, we're just going to make this because somebody else is, or we on product marketing have to react because the design, and of course like finance and our business analytics team and all of those. So it's been an exciting evolution so far to see how it's kind of grown from that perspective. It's great.
That's incredible. I'm curious to know, what does a day in the life of the senior global product marketing manager at Mailchimp look like?
It's it's varied wonderfully, I think, every day. I think any typical day can involve any number of things. So at my level and where I'm at currently in the product development life cycle, but also just the product kind of customer life cycle as well with SMS, is, we sync. I sync with a couple of teams on a regular basis, kind of daily, to understand the latest and greatest work that's happening in terms of going to market. So that can be, product roadmaps, that can be, working with our life cycle team to understand the funnel and kind of that aspect of the product journey. I worked really closely, as I mentioned, with our product managers on roadmap prioritization. So there's a number of things around, one, setting a or having an endless list of features and functionality that we want to build, to actually, all right, based on X, Y, and Z data, like customer insights, qualitative and quantitative research, and all of the things that come into our kind of our data analysts toolkit, to help prioritize that roadmap so that we can, in fact, build what we know our customers want us to build. It's also, to that same vein, analyzing customer data. So this can be like usage of the product, so how people are actually using it. What's the funnel from, I'm setting up an SMS program all the way to I'm sending multiple SMS down the road. Like, what's the actual, where are there hiccups in the funnel there? Two, like also understanding support feedback, like I say, so working very closely with our sales, our support, our onboarding, our customer success, which is our account management teams, to understand like any friction points that may be happening with our customers, whether that be, again, going back to roadmap prioritization, the missing features or features that aren't fully functional that need a little bit more love so that X, Y, and Z customers can use them. I also work very closely. We have more so recently kind of expanded our regional, or I should say international marketing touch points. We have people that are now in the UK that handle the EMEA market as well as Australia, and so they manage that side of the globe. And I work really closely with them on a regular basis just to understand kind of the regional marketing needs that are happening around there. And frankly, it's a lot of strategic work, but it's also just knocking out the piles of work that happen. I mean, and this could be anything. Lately, it's been sales enablement for our sales team, and really trying to understand the needs there and to enable them to work in order to sell SMSs. So the key for me is just trying to find a balance between that strategic side of thing, but all of it. So that's a typical day. I wouldn't say every day is like that, but I'd say most of them are.
That's quite a day.
Surely, surely is.
Can you walk me through a recent product launch at Mailchimp? What worked and what would you improve?
Sure. So the one that comes to mind is Mailchimp SMS, right? So I've been the product marketer, pretty much the sole product marketer for Mailchimp SMS, coming up on around like 3 years, right? So we launched I'd say about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now for SMS. And so prior to that, it was a year of trying to come up with what we should build, what should we go to market with, what should our messaging and positioning be, all of those things. But we launched about a year and a half ago, and most recently, and a couple months ago now, we recently launched Mailchimp SMS in 7 new countries, which is an exciting kind of opportunity because we were previously in the U.S., UK, Canada, and Australia, and now we've launched into 7 new countries in the EMEA region. So the way we got to that was, I think it all started with extensive customer research to understand the pain points of the customer. So what was missing from their marketing stack, what was underserved in the market, what was trending, or what had the greatest growth opportunity. And that's for SMS in general, but also just in those markets. We tried to decide, like, is SMS a good fit here, through a variety of different reasons, including that kind of customer research to understand pain points. We also then kind of developed positioning that emphasized email and SMS working better together. That's kind of our whole go-to-market positioning there. Is we know that SMS and email do work very well together and shouldn't be necessarily used as standalone channels. They should be connected, and they should be speaking to one another. And that's what we're delivering at Mailchimp, is that better together type of functionality. Back when we initiated a year and a half ago, it was truly a tiered approach, a tiered rollout. So gathering feedback, early feedback on what was working, what wasn't working, and also just capturing that so that we can then influence the product roadmap. We also built kind of an extensive enablement program for our sales teams and our human assistants, or our customer facing teams, to really effectively be loop. So we give them information, we give them products, they sell it, they hear from customers, and then they tell us what customers want, liked or disliked, all of those types of things, and really kind of influencing our product roadmap that way. And then we obviously implemented like a measurement framework to track both, adoption and impact and engagement and all of those things. And that for me is also super important, to being prepared to be able to track and measure all of the things that you need to track across, your marketing, but also the product has been super important and super kind of insightful into helping with any number of business decisions around, what market to go in, around, what's working, what's not working, product and feature development prioritization, and all of those things. So I think what ultimately worked well was the focus on customer stories from day one. So what we'd improve, I think, is I think starting the I mentioned we started sales enablement when we built that, but I would have started that earlier in the process as well. So I think, I always known, and I've have a sales background as well, that sales in general are the ones that and of talking to from support, but customers and that we want on our platform, listen to them more so that we can in fact learn more from those customers and from those teams. So I think I started that honestly is just to ensure that lines of and that transparency between us, the product team, and on me on product marketing and those teams did, and we are fully kind of working from the ground up on how to ensure that our customers have the product that they need and that they can effectively sell the product. A number of different things, but I'd focus there on that as a good thing to for future product launches for sure.
That's so great. I love that. Sales enablement also plays a very critical role in like every time we launch a product, we always see how to create better collaterals for sales. So that's for sure a
I
great
c I can't tell
example.
you how much and I've spent on sales collateral and sales enablement this past year. It's more I used to have I used to work in advertising where a lot of my job was to create sales enablement, but even in those multiple years, I've done so much this year that it's really taught me a lot around, the needs and wants of sellers, of customer success managers or account managers, but also there's never too much information you can provide, and I've always felt that it's been a great time this past year to really kind of dig deep in there and try and do the best to enablement. So it's super super important, and I have a great deal of respect for sellers, for customer success managers, and anyone else that's talking to customers like that on a regular basis. So yeah, 100% agree. Super important.
Mailchimp has such a diverse user base. I imagine segmentation plays a crucial role here. How do you approach customer segmentation across different user personas?
It's I'd say it's kind of multi-dimensional. And it varies, I think, just depending on kind of business needs and things like that, but we do try our best to understand our customers really, really well so that we can talk to them at the right place at the right time. That sounds super basic, but it's super important to get, segmentation correct. So we look at it from a few different ways. One is, business maturity, right? So are they, a solo entrepreneur? Are they a 5-person team? Are they a 100-person team? So really like, are they a startup? Are they established business? We look at that a lot. We also look heavily into kind of industry verticals and use cases. So understanding what types of business they are, because that alone gives you so much information about how to position and understand and put your product in front of them and the features and functionality that they need on top of content marketing as well. So really understanding what those customers really want to see. Also we also think about digital or even like marketing sophistication. So we try to understand really heavily how, well do certain customers know what they're doing? Because it can range again from solopreneurs that, are focused on the business and not necessarily on marketing, but they know they need to do it, to teams of marketers that use Mailchimp all in one place. They're all using it together and they know what they're doing. So how you get the content, get the information in front of them, and how deep you go is also kind of a hard line to toe, but it's definitely something that we're very very aware of and try to do that. We also just simply look at the platform or Mailchimp usage patterns, right? So we're able to understand how people use it, how people don't use it, which is also almost as important as how they use it. But what's unique about this, I think, is how we kind of layer these segments or the segmentation with kind of behavioral data again to create those personas that essentially evolve with the customer's journey. So how they use Mailchimp, and I think that's also a big part of it too, is that Mailchimp's been around since for since 2001, so 20 to 24 years now, which is insane to think about. And we've seen an evolution in business since then, just in terms of how people use marketing, how individuals engage with marketing, and again how businesses use marketing to actually promote their business. So we're really trying to understand that, and I think understanding that whole kind of how the personas do evolve as you move through a journey, but also a life cycle of a business. A very interesting and kind of an interesting approach that we try to take on a regular basis here.
I'm glad you mentioned customer journey. What frameworks or methodologies do you use to track and improve each stage of the customer journey?
So, of course, we, look at traditional funnel metrics. I think it's kind of a hybrid approach. So, a traditional funnel metric around awareness, consideration, and conversion. But also, being on product marketing, we have the great honor of understanding kind of the growth metrics, or the product led growth metrics, I should say, around activation, adoption, expansion, and then ultimately, kind of retention, to really try to understand how to connect those together as well, which is interesting. And obviously understanding kind of customer health scoring, and try to understand customer lifetime value, to really to know exactly when a customer may be the most beneficial for us as a business in terms of their value, but also just try to understand, connect those frameworks together, tying them to actual customer outcomes, but also business impacts is very, very important. Both business impact on our side, and where that actually comes into play, but also actually tying it. And what I like to think a lot about is how we as a company and we as Mailchimp are providing impact to our customers' business, whether that be better ROI, whether that be greater click rates, anything, all of those things that are related to how well your business does and how well your marketing is performing is super interesting to me. So we kind of connect those frameworks to and try to tie them to actual customer outcomes as best we can.
It's amazing. So everything works together.
Truly.
You used to work at Square, and I read a very good story about the same on your website. Can you please share the story of how you joined Square and getting started as an AE?
Absolutely. So this was, I mean, I think Square, if I'm remembering correctly, started in 2009. At that point, been following them since then, and I knew that I wanted to eventually work there one day. I wanted to be a part of that. I don't know if it was, at the time I was in South Carolina, over here in the Southeast. I'm in Atlanta now, but I was over here in the Southeast, and I wanted to, beyond a doubt, go and work in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley, and go try my hand at tech. And I knew that I wanted it to be Square. So when the time came for me personally to be able to do that, I actually moved out to California without a job so that I could focus on getting that job at Square. And what happened was is I applied to a couple of roles at Square, and then immediately got rejected for all of them after I had fought, like, so I applied, didn't hear anything back, reached out to the recruiter, and then immediately got I got a rejection for all of my roles. But then a couple of weeks later, somebody reached out about an AE role, so that on their sales team, and I'd had some sales background and some internships during my college years, but nothing that was really like, yeah, let's do this. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. So I met with them. I was able to get in there at an early kind of time for the sales team. At the time, I think there was maybe 15 or 20 sellers now, and I think now there's hundreds of sellers across the entire world for Square. And I even remember at the time it was, I'm not trying to name drop, but Sarah Fryer, who's I think the current CFO of OpenAI, was the CFO of Square at the time, said publicly that, "Oh, we don't need a sales team. We our product is going to be so simple and so friendly that anyone can get up and running." But that's obviously since changed, and they see the value in sales, and for that I'm thankful, because it gave me my first kind of run at the tech industry directly, and I'm incredibly grateful for my time there. I loved every second there, and even when I started in sales and moved into the retail marketing side of things there, it was a blast. It was a pre IPO, and it was just a fun time to be there when we really could fit in what to our businesses. And so it was a very fun time, and really kind of got myself to that world. And I'm truly thankful for the time there and the people I met, and it was just a really fun and educational time. It was fun.
That's such a cool story. For me, the favorite part is getting rejected and then getting a call.
It's never happened again, right? Like I've never submitted to a job and then get rejected and then 2 weeks later get a call about it. So it was a fun thing and honestly kind of surprising and made me laugh big time when they gave me a call. Cause if I'm remembering correctly, I gave the recruiter a hard time. I was like, I just got a rejection from you and now you're calling me. What's this about? Now it was a fun thing. It was definitely a nice little it's a good story to tell.
It was meant to be.
I think you're right. I think it was meant to be. That's a good way to put it.
So you led GTM for Mailchimp SMS, which you talked about.
Yeah.
When leading the GTM and expansion strategy for Mailchimp SMS across 7 countries, what were the first steps you took to understand each market?
So it was a number of things around, a comprehensive kind of market analysis of around like messaging preferences. So like how do people in those countries, both businesses and consumers, engage with SMS and what are their preferences and behaviors around that? So really understanding what types of features and functionality we should go to market with and offer. On the other side of that, which is super important, especially for SMS, and of course any kind of business or SaaS business looking to expand into other, really trying to understand what's their perspective that impact your ability to launch in a country. And with SMS, it's super important because you have to meet certain criteria. You, as a business, I should say, have to meet certain criteria in order to be able to send SMS, and you have to abide by certain rules. And so the onboarding process can be tedious, but that's all. We've made it as simple as possible in any of these new countries, where it's a day approval time once you get your application in. But that required a lot of this upfront regulatory understanding and landscape mapping to really kind of dig in and understand there. The other things we did was competitive analysis. So, right, understanding, who's in each market, who are the main players from a competitive standpoint. And we also looked at our kind of current penetration in certain markets, right? From a Mailchimp perspective, we're available in many, many countries out there. So, from an SMS perspective, we wanted to say, all right, in certain markets or in the rest of the world markets at large, what's doing well, what's not doing well, what should we focus on, who should we really maybe dig in on a little bit. So we looked at that current penetration in those certain markets to steer us in the right direction. So the key to us and for me personally was treating each market as unique while also maintaining that core value kind of proposition and the messaging and positioning because the SMS in the US for instance when we first understood that email and SMS work better together and we are doing our best from a messaging and positioning standpoint also a product standpoint to actually deliver on that promise but we also know just a big point. People understand the value and that res with them as it relates to us and the why is super important. So it was about keeping that consistent across all messaging and positioning so that we don't lose that core value proposition as we expand other markets. So trying to keep that consistent marketing message across all markets has been a tough one, but it's also been a fun one to say the least. So those are some of the few things I say we started with, kind of those first steps for sure.
Finding product market fit across different regions, I imagine, was definitely challenging. How did you approach market research to determine the right PMF for SMS in each country?
So we're still doing that, right? We launched SMS in those countries. It's, I can't remember now, but it's like 3 months ago, right? And we did a lot up front. So again, deep dive into kind of existing customer patterns, right? We obviously analyze the industry specific messaging needs, right? Like I mentioned, so understanding customer behavior and what they're doing and what needs they are. Obviously, we looked into local market messaging behaviors and preferences, but also like how does the UK, for instance, about SMS? Do they say SMS or do they say texting? Do they say text messaging? And so it's a lot of understanding of that and kind of adjusting that to each individual one. And that's just mainly like that's very small, but it's also very interesting. It may seem small, but it's a very important thing to do, especially like in your marketing and in your messaging, but also in the app and how people engage with your product or in your service is are they going to know what SMS means, or are they going to respond more to text messaging in particular, or whatever that may be. So on that, it was also, competitive solution mapping. So understanding how we stacked up, because we launched in these new specific, like, a baseline of features and functionality that we already had built. What was important that we needed to fill? What gaps do we need to fill? And then how did we kind of go from there? The thing was kind of price sensitivity. So understanding what each individual market would be comfortable paying as it relates to SMS. But at the same time, there are certain fees that are for what we need to charge a certain amount, right? And we work in credits as it relates to be kind of confusing, but it's still similar pricing structure and merchandising structure across all markets. But at the same time, it's around ensuring that everyone understands that, they get it, they understand what's the education behind credit so that they know. So we use the combination of like quantitative data and then like qualitative insights from local teams, like I mentioned. So really digging in with our sellers and our customer success managers prior to launch to really understand, like, get their input on where should we go, which products should we really focus on, which features should we really focus on. So it was a mixture of all of those things for sure.
I love the part where you said, do they call it SMS or do they call it text messaging?
I
I, yeah, please go ahead.
it's it was funny, and I was like, should we call it texting in the UK, or just, we actually had a conversation this week because we're trying to update some additional things on out there where we talk about SMS, and we were like, Mailchimp, the number one email and AI marketing platform, and now with a text. And we're like, text doesn't work there. Should we say text messaging? Like, it's really like these very tactical decisions that need to be made, but they're super important if you want to make sure that you're really resonating with your customer or your audience in those markets. So it's a very fun's a word for it, but it's very interesting to really dig deep into that specific things about literally the language that you use and how people react to it and resonate, if it resonates with them or not. It's a very interesting thing to dig into. So it's been an interesting time for sure.
I relate to it especially more because when I started at my company and I had to write and create content for Canadian audience, I don't live in Canada. Create content for Canadian audience.
Yeah.
I wrote a normal way, the way I talk, the way I write, but it was completely wrong. So Canadians don't talk like that. So now I
Uh,
have a sheet where I know all the words that they use.
I
So
love that. That's
it's really
funny.
great. Yeah.
That's great.
Uh, so my next question is, one of the biggest challenges for any SaaS company is converting free users to paid. What key signals or behaviors indicate when a user is ready to move from free to paid plans?
Absolutely. And this is a big thing for Mailchimp because Mailchimp kind of started the freemium, type of, or freemium pricing kind of structure. And I think it's been something that we've been working towards and dealing with since it was, launched many, many, many years ago. But it's around looking at, and we look at usage patterns and frequency of existing features available in our free plans. So, like, how often are people sending, what's their list growth or their audience growth, how many contacts do they have, really kind of looking at that. How deeply are they exploring our features? Is it like they're coming in once a month and sending an email, or are they clicking around and looking into things like, automations, or are they looking at reporting and analytics? Are they looking at our predictive analytics? Are they looking at our AI features? What's their feature exploration depth, and how far are they going? But also just kind of growth in the customer base and activity as well. So it's about identifying patterns that indicate kind of growth sophistication in their marketing needs, or just sophistication in their marketing efforts, right? So we try our best to really kind of dig in and look at those key factors as to what may enable someone, or what may make a switch to a paid plan easier for them, if that makes sense too. So It's not just like a lot of people sometimes struggle with upgrading to a paid plan because they say, "Oh, I don't need all of these things that are associated with it. I need, whatever's in the free or essentials plan for that matter." And it's like, one, showing the value, showing why they should do that, but also just trying to understand what's the making sure once they're in there and once they're up and they have, converted to paid is ensuring that they don't lose that value that they saw initially, right? So how do you actually keep them coming back and keep using features and, how do you go from, one product a month to 3 products a month that you're using with your paid plan? So it's any number of things that we keep in eye in we keep in eyes and look at to help signal that, like, all right, this person's ready for a paid plan. So it's a lot of stuff.
Got it. Let's talk onboarding. How do you identify and address points of friction in the onboarding or adoption process?
It's a combination of things again. And I think that's clear, but I think it's that user journey mapping. So right, so understanding where they may be dropping off. So for instance, for like SMS, it's understanding, somebody logs in. That's the hot, top of the funnel. How many people can come in and how many people have access to SMS? And then from there, it's literally like, all right, they visit the overview page for SMS, they click apply, they fill out this information, they fill out this information, they fill out information, then they actually, get approved and start sending SMS and add contacts and all of those things. So understanding that and understanding where there may be drop off, where there may be friction specifically, and then to do that, to actually understand why there may be friction is we do a lot of work. I do a lot of work with our product design teams to understand, doing user experience testing. So really trying to put experiences in front of them and say, hey, you as a business who are doing this, give us feedback on this whole experience that you're seeing. And this is the product experience, I should say. So really understanding that and understanding where the hiccups may be. They also at the same time, it's behavioral analytics, so really trying to understand what they're doing, again, going back to understanding where they're stopping, what they're doing, why, and trying to dig into the why. It's direct customer feedback, so really talking to our customers as best as possible about it, so looking like support ticket analysis and things like this, and I can't overstate this enough because it's becoming and has been for me, again, like I mentioned with working with sales lately, is and again my background in sales too is having a close collaboration with sales, with customer success or account management, with onboarding, right? With support teams and with like partnership teams. Because Mailchimp has a major service partner program. So a lot of agencies can be, certified in Mailchimp, but also be the professionals or the pros that we can send other businesses to say, hey, if you need help with SMS or with email or with whatever in Mailchimp, you can go to this agency and they'll help you out. So really working closely with them, I think Mailchimp has some of the best in the business in that kind of human assistance org. And working closely with them has honestly provided me, the product managers, and everyone involved in the product development process and even the go-to-market process with so much valuable information to like to identify what, just for instance, what content we need and when and where. Like once they are approved SMS, how can we get them to actually start sending in 7 days? Like what else can we do? So there's so much there and so much value in talking with those types of teams that I try to do it as often as possible. So it's the key is also like acting quickly, right? So once you identify patterns, right, and then validating that they're actually a problem or, validating what the problem is. So is it a design flaw? Is it something wrong with lifecycle marketing? Whatever it is, actually acting quickly on that and fixing it has been truly kind of crucial in the performance of SMS and Mailchimp on the whole, for sure.
So many great tips.
Thank you.
Mailchimp Mailchimp is part of Intuit now. How has that influenced how you think about the customer journey and the user experience?
So it's been about, oh my goodness, what, 3, 4 ye just over 3 years, like, we're in our 4th year, I think now. That's insane. It's been it's been a great ride. I think Intuit alone has kind of enhanced our thinking about a number of things, right? So I think the ecosystem integration opportunities, right? So how Mailchimp and QuickBooks work together very much has been a big kind of project for us, but also just, trying to create that broader kind of ecosystem of tools that work for everybody. And I think that's been a big aspect of the acquisition. So a greater understanding on our side, on the Mailchimp side, like of small business kind of like financial journeys. My background's a little bit more in fintech, so I understand that a little bit. But even like some of the learnings like the QuickBooks teams and like Credit Karma and all these teams that we've been able to work with Mailchimp is, and now with Intuit has really kind of helped us understand the kind of the full kind of financial journey that businesses take. I think also kind of a great opportunity to kind of expand, right? Just understanding where we can work for different types of customer base, like service-based businesses like QuickBooks. Right, and also at the same vein is kind of customer success story sharing, right? So we're able to have people that use QuickBooks and Mailchimp, and we can tell that story, or I can tell a service-based business that uses SMS a great story, and then QuickBooks can go share that because we're trying to do the cross-selling opportunities as well as it relates to QuickBooks and Mailchimp just specifically. So it's been a lot, kind of helping us think more holistically about the small business journey, right? It's not, Mailchimp's very focused on marketing, but I think, you know, I always felt that Mailchimp has the ability to really kind of be a one-stop shop for a lot of the things that a business needs to do to grow. So even from like the beginning of when a business is young, they can really start young, start early on their marketing, on all aspects of marketing. And then as they grow, we help them kind of continue to grow and do it. So I think like us being able to understand the full journey of a small business from, inception to really thinking of an idea for a business to, you're growing, you're continuing to grow to, as terrible as it sounds, to maybe your business went out of business. Like we understand that full journey that customers have and businesses have, and the Intuit acquisition has only been able to influence that in a deeper way. So it's been a nice time for sure.
That's incredible. I have gone ahead and read about all the fun campaigns that you did, one of which was MailChimp Your Marketing, which happened, I
Yeah.
think, in October. I imagine you have a number of success stories like this. If you had to pick your biggest wins at MailChimp to date, what would they be?
So for me, I genuinely think that, and again, it's not. I'm trying to not have recency bias here with SMS, but I think for me personally and professionally, the work that I've done in the past, say, 2.5, 3 years with SMS, from all aspects of it, from setting the product strategy to deciding, yes, we're going to go after SMS as a market, to launching in the US, UK, Australia, Canada, France, Italy, all these things, whatever, all of the companies that we work in, Spain, to now where we're currently like, all right, we've expanded into these countries. Now let's continue to grow within each of these markets. Like the amount of growth that I have seen personally and professionally over the past, year and a half, 2 years has, I guess, 2.5, 3 years now, has been exceptional, and one that I am so very thankful for. And I say that as it's a big win because personally it is a big win. It's taught me a lot about what I like, what I'm good at, what I think I'm good at, what I enjoy a lot. So that's been a big aspect for me as a big win, is just that the SMS has truly been a lot of work, but it's been very kind of fulfilling work, which for that I'm thankful. Some additional wins, I think, just in general, again, since my time at Mailchimp, it's kind of global expansion's been great. We're a massive like international powerhouse when it comes to our tool. Yes, US is a big market, but the rest of the world accounts for more than 50% of our kind of our revenue. And so being able to grow there has been great. I think honestly with SMS again and other channels that we launched, the ability to kind of see significant growth in that multi-product kind of adoption and of what people are seeing. So they come in and use email, but yes, they use SMS. Oh, they're using automations too. Like being able to grow that and see that has been an exciting time. I just think the other aspect and the one that's very, very important to me is a big win in my eyes is the growth of the product marketing organization at Mailchimp. I am the I'm the old guy on the team now because I've been there the longest. It's been we have a great team. I took it from 4 or 5 people to, I don't know, at any point it's been 20 plus to, 15, whatever. There are tides that come and go, but we've grown a lot. We've kind of created scalable kind of go to market frameworks. We've really built out certain functions within our team around sales enablement and case studies and thought leadership and all of these things, as well as just the general, working with products and doing go to market functions. It's been amazing to see that growth, and it's been a big win for me personally and again professionally to work with such amazing people and to watch them grow and watch um, their careers kind of continue to grow. And so that's been a big win. I take that as a big win for me personally and again professionally. So just a couple.
It is, and making an email marketing tool, like making it great for SMS marketing, is indeed a big thing. It is a
It's a
big
big
win.
thing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You mentioned global expansion. Based on your journey at MailChimp and the challenges that you have faced, what advice would you give to a PMM who's looking to scale a product globally while ensuring it remains relevant to diverse markets?
That's a great question. Some of the things that come to mind, and I've mentioned them, and kind of what we've done or what I've done is again like starting with solid market research. So really trying to understand the market across various different points of interest around types of businesses, industries, all of those things, language preference, right? All of those things and understanding the market specifically. I think building kind of flexible frameworks. So, right, one framework may not work in Belgium that works in Italy or works in Canada, but maybe not US or UK. So, building kind of frameworks that work specifically to that market, but also frameworks that can work across and can bend and flex based on your needs. I think a big thing, if possible, and I know this isn't possible everywhere, but investing in local relationships, whether that be, you know, local partners, like I mentioned, so service partners or agencies that are in market that understand the customer base even more than you would with market research. So really they are the customer base essentially. So understanding that, investing in local relationships is big. I think like I mentioned earlier about maintaining kind of consistency and message across markets, but it's also kind of balancing that consistency across the globe or across markets with the local relevance and the things that actually matter to them locally, I think are super important. So being able to do that is key on top of flexible frameworks, but like scalable processes as well is super helpful. So, I think if you're launching and if you're at an early stage company and you are building out processes to get things out the door, they don't always have to be scalable. But if you're I think that's actually a good thing to have in scalable things early on so that you can eventually get to scalable processes, but you're doing things um, that will make things more easier going forward. I think again, it talks about or it's about being kind of systematic in your approach, but also being adaptable and flexible to things as they come up, which they ultimately will.
One question that I ask everyone here is, according to you, what's a company that is doing really great PMM and you are obsessed with it at the moment?
That's a great that's a great one, and this is one that, kinda stems back from my Square days as well, but, like, I think Stripe does an exceptional job with their product marketing. I think their documentation, their developer experience, and their go-to-market execution are pretty consistently excellent. I think they manage to make complex, like, financial infrastructure, feel accessible while maintaining, like, deep technical credibility, so their audience is a lot of developers mainly, but I feel like it's easy enough that someone like me who is I want to be technical and I want to be a programmer, but I am in no way an artist or a developer in any way. I feel like I can go and just go use Stripe and set it up, and I think they've made it simple enough that people like me can understand it, but also, still keep that technical capability there and like the ability to grow with Stripe and to build it, have it be flexible enough that it can grow is exciting. And I think they just do a really, really good job all the time on that side. And I kudos to them for taking something again, kind of going back to what I said initially about we take things that are super technical and try to make them, you know, approachable to our customer base. And I think they just do a really great job all the time.
100% agreed. I love Stripe as well. We are at the end of the podcast now. My last question is, for someone looking to level up in marketing, a book or resource you'd recommend?
This is great. So I think for say someone who's say pretty new to marketing, right? I think that's a good I have two. One that's someone who's new and one who's someone who's an old timer. One is the first new marketer is obviously awesome by April Dunford. So it provides kind of a clear framework for product positioning that I think cuts through that complexity of like marketing theory and all this stuff, but actually like shows you and gives you as a marketer a really good way to understand and have a framework for product positioning because I think it's so important to really get that right up front early in your career so that it benefits you later in your career. And the book also like showcases real world examples that kind of and like actionable steps to make your product stand out by better understanding like your true competitive advantage, which is again so important. I think that's a good one for new marketers. The other one is what I found for any mid-level to later stage kind of career marketer is personally I found kind of a tendency to lose some of the like creativity that I had at the start of my career. Does that make sense? So I think as a marketer, you can get in a rut, and this is me again, my personal experience, but I feel like a lot of people get in this way is you get in a rut with our way of thinking and our approach to solving complex customer problems in a creative way. I think we may just go fall back on things that we know and know work and stuff like that versus like really trying something new and trying to be creative about it. So I had the opportunity to hear Grace Hawthorne, her name of the Stanford D School speak at Mailchimp, and she brought along her book. Actually, I have it right here. It's the Make Possibilities Happen. You can't really see that, but it's Make Possibilities Happen: How to Transform Ideas into Reality. And honestly, the book has been a revelation for me as a marketer, especially in my career, because it details ways to essentially kind of change your brain chemistry a little bit to allow you to discover tools and strategies for overcoming like the hangups and just mental models that you already have that prevents your brain from like getting things done or even starting things. She details like exercises that increase like creative capacity of our brains and it's fascinating and honestly it gave me a little bit more of like a much needed fire in the creative parts of my brain to really like not be scared to start something or try something new or try a new approach to certain things. So highly recommend this book. It's really, really great. It's Grace Hawthorne, Make Possibilities Happen. It's fantastic.
That was so great. I loved our conversation. Can you share where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn mainly. I am pretty active there as it relates to, talking about product marketing, talking about marketing in general. I'm on Twitter or X, but not often anymore. I'd love to connect with you for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, for taking the time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you again, Priyanka. Truly, truly awesome to talk to you. Bye now.
If you found this episode helpful, hit that subscribe button on YouTube and drop a rating on Spotify. It really helps more marketers discover these expert insights. For episode updates and even more marketing wisdom, follow the Who Invited Marketing page on LinkedIn. And hey, if you have any guest suggestions or topics you'd like to hear more about, let me know in the comments or connect with me on LinkedIn. Thanks for tuning into Who Invited Marketing. I'll see you in the next episode.